In the quiet flow of time, there existed a land gently cradled between two rivers, a soft, fertile expanse where early human life began to gather in slow, deliberate rhythms. This region, known today as Mesopotamia, stretches across the landscapes of what we now call Iraq and parts of Syria. It is a place where the earth itself seemed to invite careful attention, where small patches of soil, nourished by the seasonal rise and fall of water, provided sustenance and guided the formation of modest settlements. The earliest people here learned to shape their surroundings with patient hands and simple tools, turning soft clay and fertile soil into cultivated fields. Villages appeared in quiet clusters, with homes of sun-baked mud bricks that blended harmoniously into the warm, muted colors of the environment. Daily life moved gently, guided by the slow arc of the sun, the quiet movement of clouds, and the steady flow of the Tigris and Euphrates. Sounds of water gliding over stones, birds moving through reeds, and the soft footfalls of children on the earth became the continuous background to the rhythm of life. In this gentle landscape, early communities experimented carefully with planting and irrigation, observing the subtle changes of seasons, noting how water nourished crops, and discovering the properties of clay and mud for building and recording. There was a quiet curiosity, a calm attentiveness to patterns, that allowed knowledge and skill to grow naturally. Small villages gradually expanded, clustering into modest towns, each with spaces for memory, work, and reflection. People shaped tools, recorded marks on clay, and created simple structures for shelter and storage, all unfolding as part of a slow, continuous rhythm. Life in Mesopotamia unfolded quietly, like the rivers themselves, shaping land, community, and culture in a manner both gentle and enduring. The landscape, the waters, the people, and the subtle textures of everyday life moved together in a soft, steady flow, a rhythm that would persist for centuries, quietly shaping the foundations of human civilization and inviting those who lived here to move with patience, observation, and calm awareness. As human groups settled more permanently along the gentle curves of the Tigris and Euphrates, small villages began to emerge, each with its own quiet rhythm. These early settlements were modest, often consisting of only a few clustered homes made from sun-dried mud bricks, their earthy tones blending softly with the surrounding fields. The villagers moved with a calm attentiveness, observing the cycles of the rivers and the subtle changes of the seasons. They noticed how the waters rose in spring, leaving behind thin layers of fertile silt, and how the dry season required careful planning and storage to sustain crops and livestock. Water became the most vital presence in these communities, and people learned to guide it gently across the land. Simple channels, shallow ditches, and low embankments were created to direct the flow, nourishing crops in a measured, predictable manner. This early form of irrigation was not hurried. It followed the natural contours of the earth, responding to small shifts in the soil and the soft gradient of the riverbanks. With each day, villagers adjusted channels, observed the growth of their fields, and tended to their crops with quiet care. The fields themselves were a mixture of grains, vegetables, and legumes, chosen for their ability to grow steadily under these new conditions. Villagers worked alongside animals, using simple tools to prepare soil and harvest produce, their actions slow and deliberate. Children learned by watching, carrying small bundles of harvested grain or helping to maintain the channels. Life was interwoven with the land and water, a continuous flow in which each task, from planting to building, was part of a larger, gentle rhythm. Through these practices, early Mesopotamian villages became centers of observation and adaptation. People noticed patterns of rainfall, soil quality, and seasonal shifts. They recorded simple marks on clay to track trade, crops, or labor, creating early systems of memory that allowed the community to function with stability. In this way, the foundations of civilization grew quietly, like soft layers of sediment, each careful action building upon the last, a calm and enduring testament to human patience and attentiveness. Over time, clusters of small villages slowly grew into more permanent settlements, forming the earliest towns of Mesopotamia. These towns were quiet yet purposeful spaces, with homes arranged around narrow pathways, modest courtyards, and small communal areas. The mud brick buildings maintained their soft, earthy tones, and roofs were often flat, allowing families to carry out daily chores, dry grains, or rest in the warmth of the sun. Life here moved at a gentle pace, shaped by natural rhythms rather than sudden changes. In these towns, daily life took on a more organized form. Families worked side by side in fields, shared the labor of maintaining irrigation channels, and prepared food together. The communal spaces became centers of quiet interaction, where people exchanged tools, seeds, and knowledge. Villagers learned from one another's experience, observing subtle improvements in farming methods, the construction of homes, and the ways in which water could be directed efficiently. Each task was approached with care, ensuring that the town functioned harmoniously over time. Trade and exchange began to find a gentle place within the town's routine. Simple goods such as woven cloth, pottery, and small baskets of grain were moved carefully along shaded pathways. Clay tokens, marked and stored, helped record exchanges and track supplies, quietly supporting the memory of the community. These early administrative practices were not hurried or rigid but developed gradually, responding to the steady growth of population and the slow accumulation of experience. The towns also reflected a growing awareness of observation and memory. Children learned to recognize the sounds and smells of daily life, from the flowing water in the canals to the texture of fresh clay. Animals, such as goats and cattle, moved calmly through shared spaces, integrated into the rhythm of human work. Over years, these towns became modest centers of continuity and stability, where each person's contribution, however small, helped maintain the soft, enduring pattern of life along the rivers. The slow unfolding of communal living in Mesopotamia offered a gentle foundation for the larger social structures that would develop over centuries. Within these small towns and villages, the shaping of tools and the creation of objects became an integral part of daily life. People observed the natural properties of clay, stone, and wood, learning over time how each material could be shaped and used. Simple stone blades and wooden implements served practical purposes, such as cutting, digging, or harvesting, but also reflected careful attention to form and function. The making and handling of tools was a quiet practice, repeated with patience and deliberate care, often shared among family members or neighbors. Pottery emerged as one of the most visible forms of craft. Clay, abundant along the riverbanks, was shaped into bowls, jars, and simple containers for storing grain, water, and seeds. The process was slow and meditative. Clay was kneaded, formed by hand or with rudimentary wheels, dried under the soft sun, and sometimes fired in modest kilns. Each vessel bore subtle marks of its maker's touch, reflecting the rhythm of hands moving with care, the gentle pressure and rotation that transformed raw earth into durable forms. Other crafts, such as weaving textiles from flax and wool, leatherworking, and carving small decorative items, grew quietly alongside these practices. Each task required patience and observation, whether twisting fibers into cord, softening leather for practical use, or smoothing wooden surfaces. These crafts were not hurried. They followed the natural pace of life, becoming familiar routines that provided comfort, sustenance, and continuity to the community. Through these activities, early Mesopotamians cultivated both skill and memory. Patterns were learned by repetition, knowledge was passed along with quiet instruction, and the products of labor served practical needs while also reflecting aesthetic sensibilities. The daily act of creating, shaping, and tending to objects contributed to the rhythm of life, linking people to the land and to one another. In these gentle, deliberate motions, the foundations of material culture were laid, quietly enduring, softening the passage of time, and shaping the steady evolution of early Mesopotamian civilization. As towns became more established along the rivers, the presence of sacred spaces gradually emerged, offering areas for quiet reflection, shared rituals, and a gentle awareness of the larger world. These early religious sites were modest and harmonious with their surroundings, often simple platforms or small enclosures within the town, constructed with sun-dried mud bricks that blended into the natural landscape. They did not command attention with grandeur but invited a soft attentiveness, where villagers could gather, observe, and remember. Daily life and spiritual practice were closely intertwined. People moved in rhythm with the cycles of the sun, moon, and seasons, noting how these patterns affected crops, weather, and river levels. Offerings of food, small clay tokens, or crafted objects were placed in these quiet spaces, gestures of acknowledgement and respect for forces beyond the immediate village. These acts were calm, repetitive, and meditative, performed with gentle care rather than urgency. Communal gatherings were rare but measured, allowing neighbors to share knowledge and participate in collective observation. Priests, elders, or those familiar with these traditions guided the arrangement of objects or the marking of clay with symbolic signs, helping maintain continuity without imposing haste or pressure. Children learned slowly, by observing the quiet rituals and by seeing how adults moved with deliberate care, cultivating a sense of patience and mindfulness. Even in these early religious practices, people recorded ideas and events on clay tablets. Marks and symbols were simple, yet they captured observations, seasonal changes, and communal memory. These records were not hurried but emerged gradually, reflecting the gentle unfolding of awareness and care. The sacred spaces and their associated rituals formed a soft backbone to communal life, guiding the rhythm of work, water management, and social interaction. They encouraged reflection, quiet attention, and a subtle appreciation of time's continuity, allowing both the individual and the village to exist within a steady, enduring flow of existence along the rivers of Mesopotamia. Alongside the gentle rhythms of daily life and ritual, early Mesopotamians began to develop a system for recording information. This system, known today as cuneiform, emerged from simple marks pressed into soft clay tablets. These marks were initially practical, used to track quantities of grain, animals, or exchanged goods, yet over time, they became a more structured form of memory. The process was quiet and deliberate, a slow shaping of knowledge that allowed communities to preserve information across days, seasons, and even generations. The creation of each tablet was a meditative act. Clay was collected from riverbanks, kneaded with care, and pressed into smooth, flat surfaces. A small stylus, often made from reed, was used to make precise impressions, each wedge-shaped mark forming part of a larger system. The act of writing required patience, calm attention, and careful observation, encouraging those who wrote to slow their movements and consider the information being recorded. Tablets were then left to dry in the sun or in simple kilns, becoming quiet, enduring witnesses to daily life and human intention. Writing allowed towns to organize trade, agriculture, and communal responsibilities with greater consistency. Administrators could track irrigation schedules, record deliveries of goods, and note communal labor. These practices were not hurried. They developed gradually, layer by layer, reflecting a growing awareness of the importance of memory and continuity. Children observed adults marking clay, learning the rhythm of the gestures and the meaning behind the symbols. Beyond practicality, writing also supported reflection and ritual. Clay tablets could record offerings, seasonal events, and small stories, preserving the quiet history of the community. In this way, writing became a soft, enduring companion to life along the rivers, a gentle means of capturing patterns, tracking time, and shaping the collective memory of early Mesopotamian civilization. The slow emergence of this written system reflects the patience, observation, and attentiveness that defined life in these early towns, ensuring that knowledge could be passed down in a calm, orderly manner. As towns matured, quiet networks of trade began to form, linking villages and settlements along the rivers and across the plains. These exchanges were gentle and deliberate, focused on the slow movement of goods that could not be produced locally. Clay, grains, reeds, and simple pottery were often traded for items such as stone, metals, and timber, materials that were rarer in the immediate environment. Trade was not hurried or competitive but moved with the measured rhythm of rivers, paths, and caravans, reflecting patience and careful planning. Villagers and travelers observed the land as they moved, noting the subtle shifts in river courses, the gentle rise of hills, and the quiet edges of marshes. Boats, made from reeds or wood, floated slowly along the rivers, carrying small loads of goods, while paths through fields and along riverbanks allowed pack animals and people to transport items over land. Each journey required attentiveness, for the conditions of the earth and water were always changing. Travelers learned to read these patterns, adjusting their movements with care to ensure that goods reached neighboring towns safely and intact. Trade also brought shared knowledge, as villagers exchanged not only objects but also techniques, stories, and observations. Methods for building, irrigating, and crafting were communicated softly, in person or through small tokens marked on clay. This quiet circulation of knowledge strengthened communal bonds, creating a slow, steady rhythm of cooperation that stretched across the landscape. Even small, local exchanges carried significance. Children watched adults navigate these interactions, learning the gentle procedures of trade and the care required for transport and record-keeping. Over time, these networks became modest arteries of connection, linking settlements without haste, enabling both goods and ideas to flow steadily. Through this calm, unhurried system, early Mesopotamian civilization expanded its awareness of the surrounding world, fostering continuity, cooperation, and a measured approach to the slow unfolding of life along the rivers. Over the centuries, the villages and towns of Mesopotamia gradually refined the ways in which they built homes, communal spaces, and modest public structures. Mud bricks remained the primary material, abundant along the riverbanks and soft under human hands. These bricks were shaped carefully, sun-dried, and stacked with slow precision, forming walls that blended seamlessly with the surrounding landscape. Roofs were often flat, offering gentle spaces for drying grains, weaving, or quiet repose. The repetition of bricks, each slightly irregular, contributed to a subtle texture that reflected both human effort and the softness of natural materials. As settlements grew, architecture evolved to meet practical needs while maintaining a sense of harmony. Courtyards provided shaded areas for communal work, water storage, and relaxation. Narrow alleyways guided movement between homes with quiet order, and simple platforms marked spaces of ritual or memory. Doors and low walls were positioned thoughtfully, creating privacy while allowing social interaction. People moved through these spaces slowly, observing light and shadow as the sun shifted across the town, noting how cool air flowed through open courtyards and how rain gently collected in low areas. Simple techniques, such as reinforcing walls with additional mud or combining reeds with clay for structural stability, were learned through repetition and careful observation. Builders paid attention to the durability of each element, the balance of moisture and sunlight, and the interaction of structures with natural forces. Children watched adults, gradually learning these patterns, absorbing both skill and patience. The architecture of early Mesopotamia reflects a subtle interplay between function, rhythm, and environment. Each structure, while simple, carried the quiet imprint of human care and awareness. These buildings were not monuments of grandeur but gentle, enduring shelters, shaping the rhythm of life, guiding movement, and providing continuity. In their slow development, architecture became a silent companion to daily existence, linking generations through shared knowledge, careful attention, and an enduring respect for the soft flow of rivers and the land that nurtured them. The lifeblood of Mesopotamian settlements was the land itself, and careful attention to agriculture guided the rhythm of daily life. Villagers observed the seasonal cycles with quiet patience, noting how the rivers rose and fell, leaving behind fertile silt that nourished the fields. Planting, tending, and harvesting were practiced slowly and deliberately, each action aligned with the natural order, creating a gentle flow that linked humans and earth in subtle harmony. Fields were organized thoughtfully, often in small, rectangular plots, separated by shallow channels that directed water precisely where it was needed. Irrigation was not hurried. It followed the land's natural contours, flowing in measured paths that allowed crops to thrive without excessive force. Villagers adjusted channels carefully, observing moisture, soil quality, and the needs of different plants. Grains, vegetables, and legumes grew steadily, tended with hands that learned to move in rhythm with the earth. Children helped carry water, gather harvested crops, or observe elders at work, absorbing a quiet understanding of growth and care. The changing seasons provided a soft cadence to life. Spring brought the slow swelling of the rivers and the first planting. Summer required attentive watering and care, while autumn was a time of measured harvest and storage. Winter offered rest and reflection, when villagers repaired structures, tended tools, and considered adjustments for the next cycle. Each season contributed to a gentle, ongoing dialogue with the land, fostering awareness, patience, and the accumulation of knowledge over time. Through this careful management, Mesopotamian agriculture created both sustenance and continuity. It shaped settlement patterns, informed social roles, and provided a quiet framework for recording labor, goods, and communal responsibilities. In the soft unfolding of these seasons, life along the rivers moved steadily, shaped by observation, care, and respect for natural processes. The land was not merely a resource but a companion, guiding human activity in a calm, enduring rhythm that would persist for generations. Daily life in Mesopotamian towns unfolded with quiet regularity, guided by social structures that balanced individual labor, communal tasks, and shared responsibility. Families lived in small mud brick homes clustered around narrow streets, courtyards, and communal water sources. Each person had roles shaped by age, skill, and experience, contributing in small but essential ways to the rhythm of town life. The pace was deliberate, neither hurried nor forced, allowing people to observe, learn, and adjust to the natural and social environment. Men, women, and children moved through these routines with calm attentiveness. Some tended fields or managed irrigation channels, ensuring crops grew steadily. Others maintained homes, prepared food, or cared for animals that were integral to sustenance and labor. Children learned gradually by observing and assisting adults, practicing skills in small increments and participating in communal chores. This careful training allowed knowledge to pass quietly from one generation to the next, reinforcing a steady, enduring social pattern. Small gatherings, such as shared meals or collective maintenance of irrigation systems, provided opportunities for gentle interaction and mutual support. These routines were imbued with a sense of order and continuity, emphasizing cooperation and shared awareness over competition. Even recreational or ceremonial moments, though modest, contributed to a town's harmony, allowing people to rest, reflect, or prepare for the next phase of daily work. The social organization also encompassed recording and memory. Clay tablets documented labor, resources, and communal events, supporting both continuity and planning. Villagers moved through their day with attention to these rhythms, aware of the interconnectedness of tasks, responsibilities, and relationships. In this way, early Mesopotamian towns became living systems, functioning quietly and steadily. The calm structure of social life shaped the rhythm of work, family, and learning, offering a gentle framework in which communities could thrive alongside the rivers and the land, maintaining a steady, meditative flow through each day, season, and year. Alongside daily labor and communal routines, early Mesopotamian towns observed gentle cycles of religious practice and seasonal ceremonies. These gatherings were modest and harmonious with everyday life, designed not to overwhelm but to create rhythm, reflection, and continuity. Villagers would assemble in small courtyards or on elevated platforms, carefully prepared with soft clay tokens, offerings of grain, and modest objects shaped with attention and care. Ceremonies were tied closely to natural cycles. The rise and fall of the rivers, the shifting position of the sun, the patterns of moonlight, and the gradual change of seasons all influenced the timing and nature of observances. Offerings were made slowly, with deliberate gestures, and prayers were expressed quietly, often through repeated actions rather than spoken words. These rituals encouraged mindfulness, a soft awareness of the larger world, and a patient attention to patterns in daily life. During festivals, communities moved together with gentle coordination. Songs or chants, if used, were low and soothing, accompanied by simple instruments such as reed flutes or small percussion tools. Adults guided children to participate in careful, repeated motions, showing them the continuity of practice and the importance of observation. The act of preparing and presenting offerings, or marking symbols on clay, became a meditative process, linking individual and communal awareness. Even the simplest observances contributed to the town's cohesion. Rituals provided shared moments of reflection, continuity, and memory, reinforcing the connection between people, land, and water. Seasonal ceremonies marked planting or harvest, signaling a soft rhythm that guided labor and rest, work and contemplation. Through these gentle, recurring practices, early Mesopotamians cultivated patience, mindfulness, and a steady sense of place within their environment. In this way, ceremonial life was not separate from daily life but integrated, a quiet companion to work, learning, and communal care, offering continuity and calm across generations along the rivers. Over many generations, some towns in Mesopotamia grew larger and more complex, gradually developing into early city-states. These centers of human settlement were still harmonious with the land, yet they introduced new layers of organization to support growing populations. Narrow streets led between mud brick homes, communal courtyards, and modest public spaces, while small elevated platforms marked areas for ceremonial or administrative functions. City-states required a gentle system of coordination. Leaders, often chosen for experience or seniority, oversaw the distribution of resources, maintenance of irrigation channels, and the care of communal property. Their role was not one of imposing sudden authority but of maintaining order, observing patterns, and guiding communities with calm attention. Responsibilities were divided carefully among families and groups, ensuring that work, trade, and ritual could continue without haste or disruption. Writing and record-keeping became particularly important in these early urban centers. Clay tablets documented agricultural production, labor assignments, and exchanges with neighboring settlements. These records moved quietly through the community, supporting decisions and preserving memory. The presence of administrative structures allowed towns to grow with stability, creating predictable rhythms for work, rest, and seasonal planning. Even as city-states expanded, daily life retained its meditative pace. Villagers tended fields, maintained homes, cared for animals, and participated in ceremonies with the same deliberate calm as smaller villages. Children continued to observe and learn, moving slowly through the cycles of work, observation, and reflection. The rise of city-states did not erase the continuity of local life but layered a soft framework of organization over it, allowing communities to coordinate more complex tasks, maintain shared knowledge, and preserve steady rhythms of living along the rivers. In this way, governance emerged naturally, integrated into the patterns of daily life, offering guidance without haste and supporting the enduring continuity of Mesopotamian civilization. As city-states matured, quiet networks of trade began to extend beyond the immediate rivers and fields, linking settlements across greater distances. Goods that could not be sourced locally, such as stone, metals, and timber, were brought slowly along rivers, canals, and land paths, while surplus grain, pottery, and crafted objects moved outward to neighboring towns. Trade was not hurried or competitive in the modern sense. It followed careful rhythms, with travelers and merchants observing both the landscape and the natural flow of rivers. Boats, constructed from reeds or timber, carried modest loads along calm waters. Villagers and merchants moved slowly along paths between towns, sometimes accompanied by animals carrying smaller bundles. Each journey required careful observation of the environment, river currents, seasonal changes, soft soil conditions, and the gentle slopes of the land. Attention to these details ensured that goods arrived safely and without loss, reinforcing a steady, reliable pattern of exchange. Alongside physical goods, knowledge moved quietly through these networks. Techniques for crafting, farming, and building were shared among towns, sometimes transmitted with simple clay tokens or tablets. Travelers carried stories and observations from distant settlements, creating a soft circulation of information that strengthened the awareness of connected communities. Children and apprentices observed these exchanges, learning how patience, attentiveness, and gentle coordination could sustain relationships over space and time. Even the smallest exchanges carried significance. Grain traded for timber, or clay vessels exchanged for stone, allowed settlements to thrive without disruption. These connections were calm, deliberate, and cumulative, gradually forming a network of interaction that shaped the region. Through this slow, steady movement of goods and knowledge, early Mesopotamian civilization expanded its horizons while preserving the meditative rhythm of daily life. Trade became not only a source of material support but also a quiet means of fostering continuity, observation, and enduring cooperation among communities along the rivers. As settlements and city-states grew, early Mesopotamians developed quiet systems of measurement and technology to support daily life, agriculture, trade, and administration. Observation of natural cycles, patterns in river flow, and the behavior of materials encouraged a slow, deliberate understanding of quantities, lengths, and volumes. These early mathematical practices were not abstract exercises but practical tools, aiding the measurement of fields, the allocation of grain, and the design of structures. Simple tools, such as measuring rods, baskets of known volume, and corded lengths, allowed villagers to maintain consistency in planting, harvesting, and distributing goods. Clay tablets recorded calculations, often using wedge-shaped impressions to indicate numbers, portions, and transactions. Each mark was created slowly, requiring attention to detail and careful repetition. Over time, these practices became more refined, supporting irrigation schedules, trade agreements, and the construction of homes and public spaces. In addition to numbers, early technology included improvements in tools for farming, pottery, and construction. Stone and wooden implements were sharpened, reinforced, and adapted for specific tasks. Potters refined methods for shaping and firing clay vessels, while builders observed subtle shifts in moisture, sun, and weight to maintain stability in their mud brick structures. These innovations developed gradually, through observation, experience, and patient experimentation, contributing quietly to efficiency and durability without altering the rhythm of daily life. Even children and apprentices were introduced gently to these practices, learning the rhythm of measurement, calculation, and careful construction. Each calculation, each adjustment, reinforced the connection between observation, memory, and action. In this way, early Mesopotamian technology and mathematics became companions to life along the rivers, tools that facilitated labor, trade, and organization, while maintaining calm, reflective attention to the patterns and cycles that shaped human existence. The careful use of knowledge ensured continuity and stability, supporting the steady, meditative flow of civilization through generations. In addition to daily work, trade, and ritual, early Mesopotamian communities cultivated a quiet cultural life, woven into the rhythm of daily existence. Storytelling, memory keeping, and simple artistic expression formed a gentle thread connecting generations, preserving knowledge, values, and shared experience. Tales of the rivers, the land, and the cycles of seasons were passed slowly from elders to children, often during pauses in labor or in shaded courtyards, where soft light and calm surroundings encouraged attention and reflection. Stories were sometimes recorded on clay tablets, combining symbols, pictographs, and impressions that reflected both practical and symbolic meaning. These early forms of writing captured events, seasonal observations, family lineages, and modest myths that explained the patterns of nature. Creating and observing these records was a deliberate, patient practice. Each mark was pressed carefully, each line repeated when needed, so that knowledge could endure beyond the moment and guide future actions. Artistic expression, though often subtle, accompanied daily life. Small carved objects, woven patterns, and decorative vessels reflected the touch of human hands moving with calm attention. Children and apprentices learned through observation and imitation, gradually absorbing the techniques, rhythms, and meanings embedded in these works. The quiet act of creation, whether in storytelling or crafting, reinforced continuity, offering a soft reflection of the surrounding world. Cultural practices intertwined with routine, labor, and ritual, shaping a gentle rhythm for each day and season. Music, movement, and symbolic gestures, when present, were subtle and meditative, encouraging reflection rather than spectacle. Through these practices, early Mesopotamians preserved memory, fostered awareness, and reinforced social bonds, creating continuity across time. In this soft, enduring way, culture became both a companion and a guide, linking generations, shaping perception, and supporting the calm, steady flow of life along the rivers. It offered communities a means to understand themselves, their surroundings, and the passing of time in a quiet, meditative cadence. In the quiet sweep of time, the civilization of Mesopotamia endured as a soft, flowing presence along the rivers that shaped it. Centuries of observation, labor, and gentle innovation allowed communities to grow, to cultivate the land, to build homes, and to record memory in clay, all with careful attention and patience. Life moved steadily, guided by natural rhythms and the quiet cycles of sun, moon, and season, creating a continuity that linked generations. People lived in harmony with their environment, shaping tools, vessels, and dwellings with deliberate care. They observed the land, the water, and the skies, learning how to direct irrigation, grow crops, and sustain trade between settlements. Through rituals, storytelling, and craft, they preserved memory and fostered culture, passing knowledge slowly from one generation to the next. The acts of daily life, though simple and repetitive, formed a quiet framework for stability, reflection, and collective awareness. Even as towns grew into city-states, and trade and technology expanded outward, the pace remained measured. Each gesture, from planting a seed to marking a tablet, was a part of a larger rhythm, a meditation on continuity and connection. Children watched, learned, and absorbed the subtleties of practice, carrying forward the steady knowledge accumulated over generations. In this way, human life and environment were interwoven, creating a tapestry of calm observation, practical skill, and enduring memory. To reflect on Mesopotamia is to sense the gentle unfolding of civilization itself, a series of quiet steps, each building softly upon the last, shaped by attention, patience, and care. The rivers, the fields, the homes, and the people moved together in enduring harmony. Civilization, in its earliest form here, was not rushed or loud but persisted with soft rhythms, subtle continuity, and a meditative presence. Its legacy remains a gentle reminder of human patience, observation, and the quiet beauty of life unfolding steadily, day by day, season by season, along the flowing rivers of Mesopotamia.